Why such turmoil in your mind, Mr. Allen? Allow me to ease your pain.
Hey everybody, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Flash episode 19 video. The funny thing about this week's episode is that it was almost like Captain Cold, or Citizen Cold we should say, because he's from Earth X, trying to get Barry to cry from the entire episode. But I almost forgot that Black Siren, or Siren X as they call her from Earth X, was also going to guest star. So it was really fun to throw her into the mix too. And she showed off a whole bunch of powers that we've never seen her use before. But if you're finding me for the first time, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. Obviously, there's only a couple more weeks left before we finally get all the answers about Coffee Shop Girl, about what's going to be happening with Season 5. Usually it's like the last 2 or 3 episodes where they tee up some big concept that they're going to pay off in Season 5, aside from all the Coffee Shop Girl future Speed Force symbol stuff. But top 10 WTF comic book Easter eggs, starting with number 10, we find out what happened to Harrison Wells when he overloaded on dark matter. He's basically getting dumber by the minute, but the way that Cisco explains it, and it's also part of the Killer Frost storyline, is that they leave this little seed of hope that they can reverse some of the damage. Like there's a seed of Killer Frost inside Caitlyn's DNA, so they can tease that back out. Probably before the end of the season. I don't expect them to completely reverse all the damage that happened, but it lets you know that there's something for them to do between seasons. So like this is something that they can start now, like, oh, here's a little bit of Killer Frost. Maybe we can perfect this. But it's an interesting twist on the idea of how Killer Frost is integrated with her personality and her DNA. Like, used to be that dark matter was a necessary component of that, but the dark matter was removed from her, so we'll see what their scientific explanation is for how Killer Frost can still exist within her and she can still manifest those powers. But it sounds like the setup for another slightly different version of Killer Frost during Season 5, so we might not fully get to see that till next season. But number 9, the Thinker stops dosing his wife with the Weeper tears. Like, oh, you're happy, so I'm not going to give you this drug that's going to make you do what I want you to do. So it's just laying the seeds for her to slowly start figuring out what's going on and start to turn against him. But part of the funny thing with the Thinker storyline, I mean unintentionally funny, maybe they wanted you to laugh at it, was the way that he was so adamant that they not feel any emotion. Like you very clearly see where they're going with this. His wife wants to do happy married couple stuff, but all he cares about is the Enlightenment, so this is just the beginning of the end for their alliance. He kind of slipped it in too, but he also made it sound like he was going to be taking another Meta's powers, and Caitlyn also referenced him not going after Barry earlier in the season. Oh, he didn't want Barry's powers. The Thinker says that because of Ralph's powers, he can hold even more metahuman DNA inside him, meaning that he can steal the powers of someone else. So it sounds like they're leaving themselves a door maybe for him to try and take Barry's powers and to get this comic book panel, we are the Flash, and paying it off in that WTF way. Number 8, welcome back Tracy Brand. Even though she didn't appear in the episode, this is the first time that I think that they've referenced her in a while. Maybe at the very beginning of the season when they were explaining where Julian went. Like Julian went back to Europe, so that's where he's been. Tracy went off to do her own stuff. Now we know that she has a lab in Keystone City where she's just conducting her own experiments, and that's where they stashed the Fallout character after episode 10. But who knows if she'll ever come back. They reference Argus during the episode, so there's more low-level crossover with all the other shows in this larger universe. Sometimes I wish the shows would lean on each other a little bit more in that way, even if you can't have all the actors from the other shows crossing over physically. Like I think they included some more Arrow references because you have Siren X, and they did make some jokes about all the different versions of the Canary that we've had so far. Like there was Sarah, then she died, became the White Canary, and Cisco's like, I get it, it's complicated. But number 7, welcome back Citizen Cold and welcome Siren X. I think this is the first time we've seen her. I don't remember her from the crossover, but they explained that she's like the last remaining person from the Reichsman's team, which is basically like Dark Arrow's whole squad. But the really funny thing about this, though, is that Citizen Cold kind of takes a dig at her when he says that she really loved Dark Arrow, but it was unrequited. So that's just a reference to all the drama between those characters on the Arrow TV show. But always loved Wentworth Miller. They gave him all kinds of crazy Flash puns. You can't outrun grief, Barry. Sorry if that was a pun. I mean, it's the Flash. You have to have a Flash pun every once in a while. Number 6, Citizen Cold keeps trying to get Barry to cry, so they kind of did this on Legends of Tomorrow with the exact same version of the character right after the crossover. So remember how Martin Stein died during the crossover? So Leo Snart, Citizen Cold, went on the Wave Rider and did sort of like little therapy sessions with all the characters. Like even Jax, he used this weird little puppet. It was the most bizarre thing ever, but it was just a way for the show to honor this really big character that was leaving. Like, he meant so much to us. So this is Citizen Cold doing the exact same thing with Barry's character, like getting him to process his grief, and he also gets to do the same thing with Caitlin too. Like, you learn that Caitlin really does miss Killer Frost. So even after last week's episode, there were a couple moments with Caitlin where she seemed kind of sad, like they teed it up with the notes, like, oh, these funny notes, like she was friends with Killer Frost now, so her losing that part of herself was going to be this big wound that she would have to learn to heal. The really weird thing about Siren X, though, is that how she can use her sonar ability to listen to what they're saying almost like half a city away, like she's way off in Keystone City almost, listening to them inside Star Labs. So you're like, wait a minute, has Black Siren on our Earth been able to do this the whole time? How come we haven't seen her use this ability? Because they even say that her powers are similar to that of Black Siren. But number 5, Barry versus DeVoe form Ralph for the first time since Ralph died. This is actually one of my favorite scenes because it's DeVoe taunting Barry. He even uses Ralph's voice to try and get a rise out of him, and Barry just freezes. The funny thing, though, too, was the way DeVoe reacted to that. Like, as part of this whole arc where the Thinker is an emotional dummy and just doesn't read emotion on other people, he doesn't understand Barry's grief. But I love the way that Siren X, number 4, hijacks the Thinker's hijacking of Fallout, mostly out of spite. The reason she's there is because she's in grief, and this is the way she's acting out, because she cared about all of her Reichsmen, even though they're all Nazis and they're all terrible people. Number 3, Barry finally gets his shit together, saves the day, then goes and promptly starts weeping in his old lab. Remember, we haven't been here since he was put on leave because of the whole stalking incident with the Thinker and the Thinker's wife earlier this season. That'll probably get rolled back at the end because of what's going on with the Thinker's wife right now. I think if anybody walks away from their team this season, it's the Thinker's wife. It sounds like the Thinker is either down for the count or they'll find a way to depower him so that his original body will just start to degenerate and he'll eventually die. But it was a great action scene. They did a great job of building tension, and it was fun to see them tag team Fallout with their cold guns. Like, oh yeah, that's right, we have 2 different versions of the cold gun now, so I'm guessing that Caitlin is probably just going to be using that until she gets her powers back. Funny enough, though, I wonder if they plan to always take her powers away, because remember, way back during episode 1, she was using Captain Cold's gun. They even put it in the first trailer they released at Comic-Con. So it was almost like they were foreshadowing this version of Caitlin that early in the season, even though at that time she was suppressing her abilities. But number 2, DeVoe's wife finally seems like she's starting to plot against him. But remember, like, she had to feign happiness so that he wouldn't give her the weeper tears. Maybe now behind the scenes, while they continue to construct the Enlightenment device, she tries to start sabotaging things by plotting with Team Flash. But there has to be some moment where she formally comes to them for help. She's had a lot of her scenes with Iris in the past, so I'm wondering if maybe it's Iris that brokers that deal. So it just remains to be seen what it is that causes her to finally go and try to get help from them. So number 1, of course, Citizen Cold goes back to Earth X. He's still getting married to the Ray, but they give him one of those portal devices that they gave to Supergirl after her first crossover so that he can come back anytime that he wants. Like, they even give him Captain Cold's jacket, so it's almost like we're bringing back Captain Cold to the Flash, only technically it's Citizen Cold from Earth X, but he's pretty much the same character, just a little bit nicer and a little bit quicker on the draw when it comes to puns. I haven't been a huge fan of the therapy sessions this season, but I understand why they brought it back for this episode. I mean, it kind of worked within the context, but I just like to see them get rid of that for season 5. We're probably all on the same page that Barry's best therapy sessions in this episode were with Citizen Cold, so why not just continue that theme if you're going to do stuff like this? Just have him have that moment with one of the other team members. But let me know in the comments, what was your favorite part of the episode, and what do you think is going to cause DeVoe's wife to finally come to Team Flash and form a plan to stop the Thinker's enlightenment? But like next week's episode, seems like we're going to get to see what the actual device looks like. If you're not sure what was going on with Thinker and Fallout at the end of the episode either, he was plugged into that Tahiti device in Argus. It's where he wants Fallout to be so that he can use his abilities to juice up his enlightenment device. If you guys didn't see, I just posted my non-spoilery Infinity War review. No worries, no spoilers. Click here for that. and you can click here for more new Flash. I'll post a trailer video tomorrow morning. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.